Hi everybody, this is Stephen Pugh doing the City and Guilds Wood Occupations course. It's the carpentry and joinery course, and we're going to be talking about installing kitchen units, worktops and fitments. And this is going to be a subject that's very dear to my heart. I've spent a lot of my life fitting kitchens. In fact, I had a job measuring kitchens, I had a job making kitchens, and then a job fitting kitchens, and then a job measuring kitchens. So they did that for many, many years. So it's something that I'm very familiar with. There's a tremendous amount talked about the design of kitchens, and people talk about, oh, it must be a certain shape and things must be in a certain place. Well, let me tell you, the most important thing you'll need to discover when you go into a kitchen is, where's the stoptap? You'd be surprised. I remember going into a kitchen to measure it up, and I'd become a little bit wise by this time. And I said, where's the stop tap for this kitchen? They said, oh, it's across the yard in that outhouse over there. So I said, oh, right. So we would have to put in water, have to put water across the yard and into the building to be able to do the kitchen. These things can take you by surprise. The next question is, where's the wastewater going to go to? That's a very interesting thing. Some people may not have a place where water can just be pumped out. You can't just put grey water into any old system, so it has to go into the grey water access. And it talks about architect's drawings may be given to outline a kitchen design. It's very rare, I think, in my opinion, for architects to become involved in the design of a kitchen. They've got far greater things to do than that. The design of a kitchen is fairly straightforward. It almost designs itself. Find out where find out where the water's going to be, find out where the waste is going to go out, find out what electronics you've got. So, for example, if you've got some electrics for the fridge, you're going to have a fridge? Yeah. Where's it going to be? Well, it's going to be there, but there's no electric there. Okay. So these are all the questions that need to be discussed. Is there any gas? You've decided you'd like a gas hob. That's good. Have you got any gas in the building? No, we haven't got any gas. Okay, all right. Well, how are we going to have a gas hob without no gas? These are just very simple things. You need to find out, whenever you put something, whether there's going to be the proper electrics necessary for those items to be where they are. So, for example, you might have a washing machine, you might have a tumble dryer. Well, they will need to have electrics at the back, not actually at the back of the item, because a lot of these machines nowadays, there's not really any space at the back of the machine. So you have to put the plugs, or whatever you're going to put, just at the back, but just slightly to one side so that the thing can actually go back. You don't want the plug to be keeping the whole thing out the front. And also, if it's a washing machine, for example, it'll need to have an isolator switch above the unit. You don't want to have it accidentally go live and then find you've got to take hold of it to get it out in order to be able to unplug it. So these are all things to be considered. And after these things are determined, and after it's decided how that should be, then the rest of the kitchen will virtually design itself. Now, as for the assembling of kitchen units, a lot of companies will send all of their units already assembled, and if that's so, great, let it be, let that happen. But if they're not assembling them, then you're going to have the job of assembling the kitchen units on site. So they'll come as a flat pack, they'll come in heavy boxes, we'll empty the boxes. And what I've done many a time is gone to a kitchen, all the boxes are there, and I set up a big work table and I assemble them all. And every time I assemble one, I put it into place, assemble the next one and put that into place, and so on. And that can be quite hard work. That's a whole job all in itself, just assembling kitchen units. It's very important when you're assembling kitchen units that you look at all of the instructions. Get yourself a big cup of coffee and sit in a corner and read everything. Read everything. All right, it might be in Japanese or Chinese, but still read everything, because you really need to understand everything that you're going to need to know. The next thing you do is you clear the deck and you take out all of those items of wood, whether it's chipboard or hardboard or whatever it's made of. You take it out and you examine them all properly and you have a look at them. Is this the right piece? Yes, it is. Good. And then you take all of they'll give you a little plastic container, and in there is every screw and plug and device that you're going to need. So you take them apart and you lay them out in order and you count them up, making sure that you've got enough hinges, enough screws for the hinges, enough knobs, enough of everything. You need to make sure you've got everything. Now, I think probably companies are a little bit better nowadays, but it was very common, very, very common for half the bits to be missing. So that's why it's very important to count them out. And if you end up with a profit, if you end up with a few screws spare, which you will, then what you need to do then is put them in a box. Keep them. Put them into a box that has lots of little compartments so that you can always have spares. Sometimes they do send extra rather than less. It's a good fault to send more rather than less. A lot of units can be made to size already nowadays. So, for example, base units very often are 575 deep and 890 high, and they range between 200 all the way up to 1,200, depending on the manufacturer. And standard wall units are usually about 290 deep. That's deep means from front to back, 600 high, and they're also available in 720 and 900 high. So you have the wall units, then you have the top. So the tall wall units, different types, and they range in widths as well between 200 and 1,200 millimeters. And then we have corner base units. Corner base units are a different animal altogether. They go into corners and other units come up against them. So you need to have to marry these corners in such a way that they look right. That's the point. And then, of course, there's the tall larder units. And a lot of units nowadays, they come specialized. So you might have a specialized unit to put a specialized oven into it. You might have a specialized unit that has a microwave that fits in it. You need to make sure that you know all the details of these. When I was doing kitchen manufacturing, especially when I was measuring kitchens, I had a big book of my own that I'd written, and it had every fridge on the market and exactly what the sizes were, every oven that was available and what the sizes of they were. And this was actually very important. It's very important that you really master the whole subject and that you fully understand everything that you're doing. We talked about transferring datums on a previous, I think we've talked about it half a dozen times actually, but obviously there needs to be a line scribed around the wall as to the height of the base units and the height of the wall units. What I normally did, and in those days we always put our units in at 915 for some reason, I don't know why, it was one of those things. And then we would measure for the size of the worktop, and I would put a dummy worktop on, not the real one, but a dummy one. And then I had special boxes made. These boxes were exactly 18 inches high, okay? And they were about, say, a foot deep, and they would go on. And what that would do is it would give me a place whereby I could put the wall cupboards on top of them, and then I could fix, put the next one onto it, screw the two together and fix. And then of course, when I took away these 18-inch boxes, it meant that the 6-inch tiles, 3 6-inch tiles fitted perfectly underneath. It didn't really matter to the customer exactly what the height of the unit was. What mattered to the customer is there was enough room for the tiles. So all these things may need to be thought about in advance. If you've got a tall oven unit or a tall larder unit, you need to make sure that the wall units are going to be in line on the top. They've got to be in line at the top. And these things are really important, and they really need a certain amount of concentration to enable you to get it right. I notice in this particular book it talks about installing the wall units first and then installing the base units afterwards. I never did it that way. I always did the base units first, put the boxes on, and put the wall units on top. There we are. There's so many things. The other thing that you need to do before you actually start a kitchen, and I fell foul of this many a time, is to always look for problems before you start. Look for every place where there could be pipes. You know, I've actually fitted kitchens in which the first hole I drilled in the wall was on a water pipe and it sprayed the room with water. So, these things can happen. So you need to actually think about these things in advance and try to counter all of the problems that can occur. There will be problems and they will occur. The secret of the real tradesman is that he knows about these problems and he gets around the problem before he causes it. That's a wise man. So the fitting of kitchen units, it's a life skill. It's something that you will be doing for a very long time. If you're a carpenter, you're going to work in this trade, then fitting kitchens is what you will do. Let's talk about tools and equipment. Spirit level, obvious, a good quality, accurate spirit level. I always prefer to have a range of them. So I'll have little boat level. I'll have one at 2 foot. I'll have one at 3 foot. I will have one at 8 foot. And there we are. So that gives me all the range of spirit levels that I need, and sometimes a straight edge to go with them. What about a cordless screwdriver or a cordless rotary drill for drilling into the walls? Hammers, screws, and screwdrivers, various bits, block plane, a flat file, a 35 diameter Forstner flat bottom bit for drilling the holes for concealed hinges. There's a great long list of things that you would need. You would need to have a plunge router for cutting out the worktops to fit in things like sink. So all the different cutters necessary, a worktop jig. This is a device which goes onto the workshop and gives you the ability to take large cuts out of a workshop so that they can be jointed together accurately. Masking tape and G-clamps and worktop bolts. This enables the worktops to be bolted together with a mechanical fixing. Biscuits for the biscuit jointer, and of course you need to have the biscuit jointer for doing the biscuits. Contact adhesive workbenches. There's a big list. There's lots more tools that you would need than just that, but this just gives you an idea of the range of tools that are necessary for fitting kitchens. Putting a worktop on is a tricky little business. It's more done than talked about. I could go through all of this and it may mean very little, but when you have the opportunity of working with a professional and he knows what he's doing and he's fitting the worktops, you will find this to be an education. No matter how much we talk about it, it's actually doing it that makes all the difference. And then, of course, there's methods of installing, finishing, trim. What's trim? Well, trim is all the things that you put at the end of a kitchen. For example, you will have some kickboards to put in. They're the ones that stop your feet from kicking things underneath the benches. You'll need to put the door handles on. You'll need to put the door drawers into place, and of course, they may need to have the special the drawer runners, okay? And then, of course, end support panels and decor end panels and light pelmet and cornice at the top of the units, okay? We normally put that in place with the use of Mitre Bond, which is great glue, instant super glue. The plinth, how to connect the plinth to the base units and putting filler panels into units. So there's a lot of stuff to do. It's a big job fitting a kitchen. It isn't something that should completely daunt you because it's something that can be mastered, but certainly in the early days it's best to be working with a friend on such a project as that. So there we are. I think that really covers in the main the fitting of kitchen units. Of course, this is a vast subject. I could talk for hours on this subject, but I don't think we really need to do much more than that. So we'll come back on the next video, all being well, next time, and we're going to be talking about carrying out carpentry maintenance. Okay, look forward to seeing you then. Have a good day. Bye for now then. Bye.